morning, everyone. This is Kathy Mason from Mason Works Marketing here on Conscious Business Zone with my new friend, Claudiu Murgan. Hi.
Hi, Kathy. How are you?
Good. I want to say Claudio because I used to live in Italy. And so I'll try not to do that. But
It's just a vowel, doesn't matter. Whatever it's easier for you.
just Latin. Um,
Yes.
so I am so excited to have you here because I want everyone to know about the incredible work that you're doing with so many things. You're an author, you're a podcaster, and we're on a very similar path where we're helping as many people experience different aspects of themselves and their divinity, right, Claudio?
Yes, and thank you for the invitation. It's going to be a very interesting experience for me because I don't often stay on the other side of the mic answering the questions. I'm asking the questions usually. So, yes, this is an interesting path for both of us. And I just
Yes.
found out that you also started your podcast in 2020, like myself. And it's been a very interesting 4 years. My 4 year anniversary, in fact, will happen in April.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I started Conscious Business Zone because I wanted servant leaders to have resources because they're so they put so much energy and love into their customers and their employees, and they don't have the bandwidth to do all the research to find the right books to read or the right coaches or the right healers. And so I just took it upon myself. Plus, I already knew my first year, they were almost all my friends.
Yes, and I interview or some of my guests focus on the business environment, like Beth Weinstein. She is a spiritual business coach, and she runs workshops for people who are not in big corporate networks, but small businesses that need coaching. They need to find themselves and see how they can bring the spiritual side of themselves into the business that will increase the value of what they do.
Right. I feel like there's so much opportunity now to do the personal development work, the spiritual slash personal development, which is all the same. But all of the opportunities to be the best that you can be are so available with everyone being on the internet in such a big way now after the lockdown. People got used to doing Zoom. They got used to capturing their information off of YouTube and off of the internet. So it's an exciting time to be doing all this. You agree?
Yes, for sure. And it is my belief that if one works on himself, herself, doesn't matter if he is part of the corporation, but let's say you are a CEO and you really want to work on yourself, in time, that peace, that knowledge, that understanding or understanding of who you are will transpire into your a network of colleagues, and they will see a change in you and they might ask you what happened. And if you share with them, if you have the courage to share with them the transformation you went through, they will try to emulate your example, and then from the top down the whole corporation will change, and it won't be necessarily only about business and money and profits, but also about personal well-being.
Yes, and everyone right now, I think after the scare of the lockdown, people had to start focusing, get off of their phones, get off of the noise, and start going inward. And so having your resources, my resources there for people to choose who they resonate with. This is an important time. So Claudio, you started out, you're from Romania, right? But you live in Canada.
Correct.
So why don't you share a little bit about your journey? Because of course that's the old Soviet Union. Um, I love all of that part of Europe. I love Yugoslavia, which isn't Yugoslavia anymore. But anyway, I love all of that area. So could you talk a little bit about the journey to even going to Canada and your journey here?
Yes, of course. So I grew up under the communist regime of Ceausescu, and in 1989, everything has changed for us. I was just entering university at that time. So I saw the change in the society, the change in the mindset. The liberalism was much more predominant, and the Western trying to come in and bring their values. So I saw all sides of the society and politics from my perspective of an 18-year-old at that time, as much as I could understand, not having a huge life experience and only seeing one side of the coin, which was Romania at that time. But slowly, as I mentioned, everything has changed, and I graduated. I started a business, and then I started to travel also because I was very passionate about science fiction, and with the Romanian fandom, we started going to conferences in Europe and USA, and I was able to get a feel of what's on the other side and meet new authors which I only read or heard about while in Romania behind the Iron Curtain. So it was a very wonderful time developing new friends and writing and meeting, as I mentioned, Western writers as well. But in 97, I came to a point where, along with my wife, we decided that we should try something new. From a political and financial perspective, Romania at that time didn't offer too much if you really want to stay ethical and in your own personal space. So we just move across the pond and we started a new life. It wasn't easy. Um,
Yeah.
then life unfolded with children and jobs and everything else. And for about 17 years I was kind in a writer's block. I wasn't able to put pen to paper or think about any meaningful story which will have any impact on a reader. It was pretty much I was part of the rat chase, chasing money, chasing business, and that wasn't good. So, like most of my guests I interviewed, I had to hit rock bottom and start asking myself, what else is to life than what I'm doing or what I've been doing up to this moment? And in 2014, this question became very predominant in my thinking, and I start reading more spiritual books, looking for potential spiritual teachers. And I was working just across from a used bookstore downtown Toronto, and I was in there pretty much every single day. And on one of these days, I found an old book signed by the author, Swami Kriyananda, the autobiography of a Western yogi. And I said, you know what? Let me buy it. It looks old, looks interesting. Before that, I had my hands on autobiography of a yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. But that
Yeah.
book looked too shiny, too good to be true. I put it down, so I bought the old book. So the old book, in fact, talked about Yogananda because Kriyananda was a disciple of Yogananda, and he was born out of all places in Romania. So that connection kind of blew up my mind. I said, okay, now I have to buy the autobiography, read it. I was quite impressed. And I contacted the Self-Realization Fellowship chapter in Toronto, because there are branches all over the world. They have the headquarters in Los Angeles, where Yogananda founded the organization. And everything started from there. I started attending the Sunday gatherings. I read Bhagavad Gita, God Talks to Arjuna. That book really changed my life, because I remember I tried to read it before. It didn't make any sense. It wasn't the right time for me. And then I moved on to Second Coming of Christ, again by Yogananda.
Wow.
And these books explain a lot about our existential questions and torment, if I can say so. And those who go to, like the churchgoers and those who really believe in God, they should read at least the Second Coming of Christ, because Yogananda explains very well and in detail the New Testament teachings of Jesus. And you're gonna have a different perspective to life at the end of the book. You might read it again just to be sure that you didn't miss any points. But this is, in my opinion, what the priest should tell their people, because they, most of the time, the priest misunderstood or misinterpret Jesus' teachings. And Yogananda was a believer in God. He loved Jesus, and he had no interest but to display his love through this book, especially that he mentions that the book was channeled by him, from Jesus by him. So he got this information directly from the source.
Yes.
So from there, I integrated I became, I got initiated in Kriya Yoga, and I integrated the meditation in my daily life, all the Kriya Yoga procedures on a daily basis, in order for me to see some spiritual advancement. And then in 2017, that writing blockage was removed, maybe because I started to meditate, maybe because God wanted me to start writing at that particular time in my life. And the first book came to life, The Decadence of Our Souls, which in fact was the title of a short story which I wrote when I was 18 years old, and I totally forgot about it. My parents found a notebook in an old box, and they asked me, "Do you want us to keep this notebook or throw it away?" And I asked them, "What's the title?" And they said, "The Decadence of Our Souls." And I was looking for a title for my book. Okay, I said, "This is the title of my book."
Perfect.
Synchronicities.
Should I show your book? Should I
Yes,
show?
please.
Okay,
Yeah.
so here, let's do this. Here we go.
Yes, The
And
Decadence of Our Souls, 2017. What you see there, Reborn with Memories, is my latest participation in Immigrant Writers Association annual anthology, which was published last year. And then in 2018, I followed with Water Entanglement, a book about water, which is a conscious being. And I used the quantum physics concepts that where water awakens, and she starts doing all kinds of nasty things to awaken us.
oh, wow.
And in 2020, it got followed by volume 2, Crystal Cloud, which follows the story of the same characters and their healing process. And then in 2022, I edited Love Letters to Water, published by Manor House in Canada. It contains stories from 34 authors from 14 countries, all of them talking about water, giving us their perspective on how water changed their life and is still part of their daily story. It's a very interesting read. So I recommend anyone who is interested in water to read this book.
Beautiful.
And then listed below, there are all anthologies where I have my short stories, again, moving forward and Grow Together, our anthologies by Immigrant Writers Association. And the other ones are short story sci-fi in Romanian or US anthologies.
Okay. So I have a question. Have you read Transylvanian Sunrise, the books that were I'm trying to Raduk Chamo, I think Chamu
Radu Sinamar.
Cinemar. Yes, thank you.
I
Have
read
you
I
read?
read most of his books. Yes.
Okay, so it did. Is that the inspiration for this one?
No, no.
Okay,
I mean, I
no.
read him much later. I mean, I found his books in Romanian language when I went
Oh
to
wow.
Romania like 2 years ago, and I bought most of them. And
Oh,
some of
fantastic.
them I have them in English, some of them in Romanian.
I read the Transylvanian Sunrise and then went back and looked, and it's not science fiction. It's true.
No,
It's
it is true, yes. And I'm going to validate some of his writings with a very dear guest, Jerry Sargent of Star Magic Healing.
oh, Jerry.
He's heading to Egypt as we speak for 3 week retreat and tour with a big group. And then he's going to be on my show in May, and I'm going to ask him certain questions about the pyramids and the portals that connect Romania to Egypt.
Yes. Well, for those people that don't know what we're talking about, there are a series. Well, Romania has a magical aspect to it that still, just like Bosnia, the Bosnian pyramids, there was a lot of ancient technology that has been uncovered there that the general public is not aware of. And there also is a lot of highly advanced people, the humanoids that have that the lineage has been preserved of their capability to open and interact with these devices, these underground devices. I don't want to give away the whole book, but
Yes, no,
man, I
Romania.
ate that book up. And I'm like going, oh my God, it's real.
Yeah, Romania is almost cut in half by the Carpathian Mountains, and the Bucegi are one of the most important chain, because Romania was called Dacia like almost 2,000 years ago during the Roman Empire, and their inhabitants were called Dutch, DACI. And they were very strong minded people, amazing fighters. They were great. They were working with gold and silver. They were amazing and skillful uh, jewelers, and they couldn't be conquered by the Romans, where they defeated a couple of times. But in the end, the Romans only conquered a very small portion of the country. The Dutch were able to go from one side of the mountain to the other side. There were tunnels. No one discovered these tunnels yet. Some were discovered, but they are under the army control at this point. And again, more of the story in these fascinating books.
Right. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. 'Cause I love that part of the world, and there's some strong pull for me there. The energy is very different, and lovely. So okay, so you're in Canada. You've gone through like a huge change. I mean, that was very heroic for you to take your family And did you already speak English before you came over, or did you have to learn when you got here?
No, I had a certain level of speaking and understanding English. I wasn't, totally unaware of what's going on around me because I traveled before, and I was able even to represent some of Romanian artists when we were at
Oh,
these science fiction conventions. So my English only got better after we arrived, and I started interacting with people when looking for a job or with friends. So I was um, lucky to be able to learn English before coming over.
yes. Well, I have a friend who grew up in Romania, and then the family ended up in Ohio and with other families. And he was lucky enough to have um, tutoring after school, but he was thrown right into high school. He was 13 or 14 years old. And then I have another friend who was from further south that he had no training and they just throw him into a Canadian school. And so the idea of being able to read body language or to be able to tell from cues around you to be able to communicate is really a powerful skill. It really is.
Yes, and you know what? The communist regime had some good things as well,
Uh,
because we were taught foreign languages in school. English, French, Russian, German, Spanish. So you will go 3, 4 years through learning these languages. So it was good. Overall was good because it will give you a base for later in life. You never know that the Iron Curtain will go down and you'll be able to travel, but at least you will be able to listen to a foreign movie or read a book in a different language.
right, right.
And on top of that, I did have some English tutoring as well.
Oh, good. Oh, good. So, so, so your wife was on board. Did you have little kids at that point, or
No, both
no?
boys were born in Canada,
Oh, that's
and
nice.
we came by ourselves, but we had some friends, and now
Oh,
it's a
good.
bigger group of us here, mainly colleagues from university. And when we have to, we see each other almost every 2, 3 weeks, which is
Oh,
amazing.
that's great. Okay, so and I want to ask about the Book Association, Immigrant Writers Association. Is that primarily Romanian, or is it all
No,
different? Wow.
no,
Could you
it's
talk a little bit about that? Because that's
yes.
fascinating.
Yeah, it was founded in 2019 by a Romanian lady, Gabriela Casinanu, and then it was incorporated federally in Canada, both bilingual, French and English, and the association accepts any writer or potential writer, would-be writer, someone with interest in writing, with interest in learning how to express himself, herself on paper. So the association offers all kind of webinars, and in fact, this week on the 7th of March, I gave a webinar on called "How to Transition from Writing to Podcasting."
Oh,
So you become a member. You have different classes of membership, A and B. One is paid, the other one is free, and you have access to a lot of material that can tell you how to build words in writing, how to use metaphor, how to create characters, anything you want to know to become um, a proficient writer.
that's fantastic. I was on the board of directors here for the Colorado Independent Publishers Association, and but this was more 10 years ago. So I know what that's like, and it's quite amazing the journey that you go through learning how to communicate better and the styles of communication. It's a wonderful thing. And you training other people how to do podcasts. This is wonderful for people to find their voice and to share their gifts, share their genius.
Yes, because I started, as I mentioned, in 2020 with the intention to grow an audience, but also to grow my exposure as an author, not necessarily to put a label, the podcaster label to my name. I thought that when I talk to my guests, I will point to my website, they will go read the books, they can download the free copies as well. So in time you build your audience and your readership at the same time, but it evolved in something such much more than I thought. I mean, I've done 157 interviews already. 157 will be posted this Sunday. um, and I met amazing people. So for some might be challenging to find the right guests. So during the webinar, I gave them some hints. And in fact, I also published a book, ebook with the same title, How to Transition from Writing to Podcasting, and is on Amazon. And there I go in very much detail on terms of promotion, finding guests, building your channel, thumbnails, titles, anything which is important. And I went through from zero.
Yeah, I get it. And I think I have 350, 360 episodes on my show on Conscious Business Zone. And it's because I was doing definitely two or more. And then I was doing events with people where we broke them into sections, which was really fun. I want to do that again. So, but the idea is that you're a constant learner, just like me, and that this is our way, one of our ways of really quickly reading a book before we interview somebody, right?
Yes.
I mean, or listening to a whole bunch of YouTubes before you interview somebody so that you can really help bring out the best in them.
Research is the most one of the most important parts of or components of what we are doing. I never do an interview unless I have proper research done beforehand, because I don't want to embarrass myself and I don't want to embarrass my guest. The discussion can freely go in one direction and I will never potentially ask my questions, but at least I am prepared to move the discussion forward. And it shows respect to my guest, because I am listening, I am interested in what my guest has to say. So sometimes I even read 2 books about them and listen to 2 interviews. So only the research alone might take me 3 hours or more.
That's right. That's what I do too. And I've enjoyed the constant learning of it, because everyone's perspective is so different, and everyone's capacity to be a piece of the puzzle is it's fascinating. It's fascinating how different and the same that we all are. But I don't think people realize the work that goes into actually coaxing the best out of the interviewer, out of the interviewee. So, and I also agree with you that it's more comfortable to be on my side. Anyway, but okay, so I had a question for you. As far as I know you're always prepared and you ask just very heartfelt, beautiful questions. You're uplifting the person that you're interviewing. What was the most amazing interview that you've done so far, or interviews that you've done so far?
Wow, it's hard to pick on one, to be honest with you, because as you said, there are different nuances to every single guest. Um, I had one with Michelle Blatt recently, which is an enlightened being, and she studied with an enlightened being as well, her own teacher. And what um, puzzled me and what drives her life moving forward and through her teachings for her students is be God governed. And if you do that, then your life is much smoother. Your mind is clear. And you have love in your heart all the time or most of the time if you really think that you are God governed. So this is one of the latest, but I had one with Dennis McKenna, which is the brother of Terence,
Right.
and to
Wow.
hear his stories about the 1970s when they went to Colombia chasing mushrooms because they heard stories, and they how they were in awe with the God, the universe, the divine. The moment they got into that altered state of consciousness, that's amazing because you hear it directly from the source. And
Right.
if Dennis is gone, then all we have is interviews like mine or similar interviews, or maybe a book where he mentioned it. But to hear it from him directly is quite a feast. And another one was with, let's say, Akil Toksal. He is Turkish origin. He grew up in Germany. He's a very successful businessman. He was a millionaire. He sold his business with his sister, and then he still found lack in his life. He didn't know what else to do. And then he was contacted by other beings and told that this is your life purpose. You have to give yourself to us, to the energy, to the conscious universe, and you're gonna bring people on the path of spirituality by listening to us and by channeling us. And this is what he did. Everyone in his family called him crazy, but he trusted the universe. He trusted God, divinity, and he surrendered. And throughout these interviews, this is one of the main message: surrender. Also, the other day, I interviewed Garifuna Duchess from Belize. He lives in the USA, but she started to hear voices in her mind, and she said, I'm going crazy. In fact, there were her ancestors reaching out to her,
Yeah.
saying, your time has come now. You have to be initiated into our spirituality, Garifuna spirituality, because we have to transfer knowledge onto you. But why me? Doesn't matter. It's you. We chose you. So you have to go through the process. And the struggle, the internal struggle she had for months before she was capable of letting go and let God in was unbearable. But in the end, she went back home on the land of her ancestors, and she was given more details, and she had to go through the passage, the ritual of initiation, which wasn't easy. But now she understands. Now she wrote 2 books about her experience and what the ancestors said. Of course, the knowledge she can impart with us is limited, but is the first book about Garifuna spirituality and ancestry that was written up to this moment.
Wow.
And there are many, many guests. I mean, I can look at some names, and Lars Mule. I can tell you about Lars Mule. Is a well-known author, mystic, and musician, and he also couldn't make any sense why he got sick, and for 2 years he was bedridden. He had to give up his musical career, his success. And one day, one friend called him and said, please contact this person at this number. He will heal you. And he did that. It was like a chess game. In the end, he met the person and he became the apprentice of that seer who healed him in the Pyrenees in southern France.
Wow.
But the journey, who he wrote the journey in
Yeah.
uh, O manuscript. It's a trilogy. It's unbelievable. But again, he had to surrender. He still makes music these days. He still studies Aramaic and the old scriptures,
Wow.
but he looks like a seer. He thinks like a seer. He breathes love, and he let himself be God governed.
Isn't that beautiful? So I feel that a lot of the people that I've interviewed, like you, they have a trust of and a core anchoring to the divine that's different than a lot of us, and they're modeling it. Would you agree?
Yes, but again, it wasn't easy at the beginning,
Right, right.
and they had to really go through some hard moments in their lives. Not all of them, but 90%. Because I can give you another example.
Okay.
Livia Devi, she's Romanian, beautiful soul, working very hard for an IT company in Ireland and the USA. She was managing 25 people. And one day before a Zoom call, she fainted, and she woke up after the call and said, "What's wrong with me?" She went to she called her manager, told him what happened. She went to the doctor. Doctor said, "You have nothing. You're perfectly fine." And then she started hearing voices in her head. "I'm going nuts." She took time off and went to a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist wasn't just a psychiatrist. He was a spiritual being who trained himself in Tibet, and he knew what she's going through, and she taught her, and he guided her for 6 months, explaining what's going on with her and putting her on the right path. Then the Pleiadians take her under their wings, and the Syrians, and then she had to give up the work, the regular job. She went back to her manager, said, "Look, this is what I'm doing." She didn't lie. "My purpose in life is different." The manager called her crazy, said, "I don't understand a word of what you say,
Right.
but let's go to the vice president. Tell him, because maybe he will believe you." So she went to the vice president. The vice president was an Indian guy, different values. He also said, "I don't understand what you are saying, but in my heart, I believe you." They gave her a package, and she moved on,
Wow.
training continuously with the Pleiadians and the Syrians. And she is amazing these days. She downloaded codes and she can transform other people. Similar, as I mentioned, with the Jerry Sargent,
Yeah.
who pretty much was bordering going to prison when he saw in Romania a soul departing a body, a dead body, and that changed his life.
Wow. So I love all these stories of these people that um, they awakened without, well, they had their own night of the soul or the experience, but they were able to figure, with support, with loving support of their angels and their guides, they were able to figure it out. And that they're brave, they're courage, they're very courageous. That's what I also see with the near-death experiencers, that they come back and they don't waver from, they know what they saw. Whereas some of us that grew up already awake had to hide it. So I've probably had a harder time coming out than they did, but probably not. It's all relative, right?
Yes, and for me, it's not a mystery anymore that I had to leave Romania, because everything happened so fast,
Oh,
so smooth. In 3 weeks, we received the
wow.
paperwork, the visa, and it was during Christmas time when the consulate's supposed to work very little hours.
Yeah.
So we got everything, and I was forced to leave within 6 months. Okay, and leave everything behind. My wife followed later on after she graduated university. But now, with what I know, it was meant to be. Everything it happens because it has a reason.
Yes.
Recently, I went through a personal traumatic experience, and it was a test for me. I was in shock for 3 days. My body, my mind was in shock, and I couldn't speak properly. I couldn't think properly. But I knew that I have to share what happened with my wife, no matter the consequences, because I knew that if I don't share that, I will get sick. That energy will be stuck in my body, will eat me alive, and I will get sick. So I had to share that information. It was a test for both of us, and I feel much lighter now. And I'm waiting for the next positive, even if what happened can be perceived as negative, in the overall picture was positive because I passed the test. So
Ah.
now I am on to greener pasture, waiting for what's next for me.
So that's a wonderful part of this conversation is, again, back to trust, but it's also the perspective of being empowered to choose your energy and choose your life. I was just on a call before this where we had the same conversation about keeping the high vibration. I believe where everything's a wave or particle, turns into a particle after a wave. But anyway, but for us, we're still up and down, and then we get a chance to bring it up. So that's part of this new earth, correct? How do you see these changing times and the spiritual training and the work that you're supporting? And I call it work, but it's really more love. It's really a gift that you offer. How do you see that in the changing and upliftment of humanity now?
It's a loaded question, and sometimes I also look at others for guidance, to be honest with you, those which are much more higher on their vibration than me. And during this event I just mentioned, I called a friend, told him what happened, and he said, you are very, 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 very low on vibration. You have to pull yourself up right away because you don't have to stay there. And I knew that because I sense that some not so positive entities are trying my field, energetic field, to see if they can come through. So I have to pull myself up. And something else happened to me since. I don't watch anything else but spiritual related videos and messages, nothing else. I used to look at some financial data. I used to look at some political headlines. I removed everything from my daily consumption. And I am sure that that will increase my vibration. Also, as part of our daily, as a group, as a daily practice, we pray for one of ours, which is in need of healing or need of increasing their own energy. So we apply the power of 8 concept developed by Lynn McTaggart.
Yes.
So the way I see it is, and it was explained by others, and I agree with them, is certain people at a lower vibration will suddenly disappear from our circle. You won't hear from them. They won't get back to you if you try to reach out. It's like they never existed in your life. And you have to have that strength to understand and understand that this is how the earth will separate different vibration, create, as you mentioned, quantum, create your own reality. And there are different procedures. And for those who listen and are not familiar and they want to learn, I recommend Marina Jacobi. There are books free to download on her website, and she has weekly webinars. So it's marinajacobi.com. Very interesting explanation of a quantum field and quantum laws and how you can create your own perception. So Again, I work on myself daily through meditation, through guided meditation, or otherwise breath work is also very important for oneself to raise the vibration. And in January, I went to London and had a 2-day workshop with Jerry Sargent, and it was all based on breath work. And it was just unbelievable. Trauma breath work, fire breath work, holotropic, you name it. And really did some healing to my body at that time.
Wonderful. Oh, you're so lucky. I wonder about the philosophy of the 100th monkey. That if there's even if there's only 10% of the humans on this earth that are working on themselves and raising to a high vibration, that at a certain point that it'll affect the whole. How do you feel about that with global consciousness, about the work that you do and your own spiritual practice?
I believe that it has power and it has merit. And again, I mentioned Lynn McTaggart and Power of Eight book.
Yeah.
She mentions various experiments she did with a specific number of people, either in war-torn zones like Sri Lanka, and even on water or seeds. So I look at the experiments of Masaru Emoto with water and other people like Veda Austin, and we influence the environment around us. So that's why we create small prayer groups or healing groups, and they will influence communities for sure. So if more of us awake to or awaken to this type of power, and we are willing to invest the time and the energy and the mind power uh, to a certain degree, to a certain purpose goal, things will change.
Yeah.
There are things we cannot um, influence, and that is, let's say, weather. And we are going through a solar maximum right now, and that's something which maybe if 8 billion people will focus on that, things will change. But otherwise, in my humble opinion, um, it's too few of us to influence such a grand scale event and prevent it from happening.
Right, right. So thank you for that, because I think that there's the healer's wound, the wounded healer of effect that's still in global consciousness. There's still a lot of the victim programming, I guess you want to call it, that what am I? I'm too small to do anything. Whereas, in fact, who are you to not do something? And just to let you know, I did an event right before this that was the Power of Eight group that we meet for world service every week. So I think there's a lot of us in our own way that are doing things that that are consciously supporting others without interfering with other people's journey. And the beautiful work that you're doing, that you're allowing so many different points of view, whether you're left-brained and you want the science, you can get that through your podcast, or if you have just the open-hearted seeking for that side of your fulfillment, you can get that. So there's all different paths to this new world. So I assume you're optimistic about this change we're going through, or would that be a wrong
Yes, very
assumption?
optimistic. And regardless of the outcome, I will stay positive and I will stay in love, because psychologically I am prepared for anything that comes my way. So I'm not going to sit in a corner crying, because I work on myself daily to detach myself from any physical attachments.
Mhm.
So when you do that, and let's say a car is not important for you anymore, just an object that will take you from A to B, or a house that can vanish in a tornado, like it happens so many times all over the world, or it's taken out by a flood. So when you don't attach yourself to these physical things, then life potentially seems much easier. And it's just you focus on yourself and on your immediate family and friends, create groups that could help each other, and then you will survive. And some people say, yeah, but if I don't have the lifestyle I have now, it's not worth living. Why not? You enjoy life from a different perspective. Nature will still be there. You're still going to have a roof over your head to sleep, or a tent. But if you have your family, and if you are healthy, and if you understand your life purpose, then it's still something to live for.
Yeah.
Some people say, I feel lonely. And I tell them the fable with the guru and the disciples, where the guru said, okay, I give you this apple, please go and eat it somewhere where God won't find you. So they all spread all over the property. They go to the mountain, they go in the cave, and they come back and report, oh, Guru, I went in the cave and it was dark, pitch dark. God couldn't see me there. I ate the apple. And they go one after another. Then the last one, Guruji, I failed your test. Why? I couldn't find a place where God couldn't see me, and I couldn't feel God. So sorry, I failed. So he was the one, in fact, who succeeded, who passed the test because he wasn't alone. He understood that God is within him and all around him. And if we have that understanding, then even if we are by ourselves, not alone, by ourselves, on an empty plane or in an empty house, we still can find support in God within and everything around us, and in the divinity and the conscious universe around us.
Right. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I haven't heard that story told that way. Thank you so much. So I want to show your podcast site. Is that okay right now?
Please,
Okay.
please.
So you could make sure that everyone knows. Let's make sure. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. So, and this was the podcast you were just talking about.
Yes, yeah. It was posted last Sunday.
Yes.
Garifuna Duchess from Belize. And then if you click on episode's link on top, you'll go screen by screen by screen to 156
Oh,
right now. And this is how it started. See, no photo, nothing. And then I evolved from there. I mean, you can see the evolution of my podcast. The first 40, the next 40, the next 40, because I came up with new changes, because as I learned, I implemented these changes. And talking about learning, I take the knowledge I absorb from one guest and I bring into the next interview, and that's amazing. And I feel so great when I can put them in contact with each other and they have projects together and they collaborate.
yes.
That's one of the most rewarding things I can do.
Yes, that's what I do too. I love, they call it being a networker, but I love to introduce people to each other and then step back and see what happens. And sometimes no one tells you. You find out later, but a lot of times they'll come back and it's just been because you just felt the information from both of them were so copacetic that it would work great
Yeah.
together.
And another challenge for myself is to bring someone from outside the spiritual field and interview that person and bring forward their spiritual side. And I did that with Lynette Zank of ITM Trading. So she's a financial guru. All day long, she talks about gold, silver, Federal Reserve, things like this. And
Uh-huh.
I said, Lynette, I have to interview you. And we talked for almost an hour without touching the financial side of what
Wow.
she was doing, because she had a very enriched spiritual side, but she didn't have the chance to talk about it. So
Oh,
we
that's
talk about her
awesome.
young years when she traveled to Paris, to France, and what she felt with young kids, and it was a very interesting interview.
Wow. So as you're seeing all these changes in the world and your work evolving, and you can really feel the energies are increasing in vibration and in I want to say joy. I mean, even though there's chaos, you're staying in this joyful presentation. Um, do you feel that it's different in Romania and in the old world versus North America? Do you feel a big difference, or are you feeling that you're feeling this international scope of it?
People are waking up all over the world. There
Right.
are webinars and seminars and workshops in Romania, in Bulgaria, in Hungary, all over Eastern Europe. And I go there and I talk to them, I expose them to names they might not be familiar with, but they heard about Greg Braden, Lynn McTaggart, Bruce Linton, Dr. Joe Dispenza. They heard about all these people. They attended their workshops and they took their seminars. So people are awakening. And when someone like me comes over and reinforces these names, that gives them validity. They say, okay, I did the right thing. And then I interview Romanian mystics and seers and channels, which are not necessarily known in Romania, but through my podcast, I spread the links and they get more popularity, more visibility. Because you mentioned about the energies that the mountains in Romania have, and Bosnia and other places in Eastern Europe, and the same in the USA. I mean, there are more people coming to the USA to uh, present this type of seminars and ideas and talk about quantum physics and self-development, plant medicine, which got a big boost in the last 15, 20 years. And people not necessarily do it in the USA. They go to South America, Peru, Brazil,
Mhm.
countries where they are allowed to go through this process. But the more I interview people, I understand that this is a worldwide process. Some of them are awakening and we're going to make it. Some will not, because it's very hard for them to believe that they've been lied all their lives. And when I met with friends who called me crazy, all I said, please prepare yourself mentally, psychologically, and physically for what's coming, because this is the only way you're going to stay sane.
Right, right. Well, and again, they might not even understand what that means until they do. But I wanted to show Felice, who's a dear friend, said, "Empowered to choose your energy and choose your life." Yes.
Yes.
And then she said, "Yes." Oh, someone else said, "Yes." Frequency. They don't they're obviously not on StreamYard. So but I do have some other comments for you. But I think what we're talking about is the opportunity to expand your horizons, expand and open your heart so that you can create a different experience for yourself during these times of change. Chaos is always around us. It seems like it's even stronger than before. But really, this is you came here, you stood in line to get these bodies to be here right now during this big change as part of, hopefully, as part of the solution for many, many generations after us. So thank you, Claudio.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you so much. I love what you do. I can't wait to play with you some more. I think we're kindred spirits in a lot of ways, and I hope everyone will take advantage of this powerful resource and the opportunity to consume knowledge in a quick way, watching and listening and feeling the energy of these interviews allows you to quickly, without reading hundreds of books, allows you to really assimilate and expand your consciousness, correct?
Thank you very much. Yes. And for those who want to commit to reading a book, which is like fiction and fantasy, you can download The Decadence of Our Souls for free if you go to my website. Yes, you have to put in your name and email address. But other than that, I'm sure you will enjoy the book. It tells about the power of thought, the power of words, energy healing in a very different way than you are used with, because it's fiction, it's metaphor, it's different.
Right. Well, I believe that everyone is getting more sensitive, and so let these words and these images expand your being and create a better oneness for yourself and all those around you. So thank you, Claudiu.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bless you. Bless your work.
Same
Thank
you
you
too.
so
Thank
much.
you. Bye.